At the AIFL Dinner, I'm standing with the president of the America-Israel Friendship League, Ken Bialkin. First of all, congratulations again.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to see you here. So many of the people who care so deeply about the state of Israel are here. Give me 30 seconds on why tonight is important to you.
Just look at what's happening in the world. As I'm going to say later, we're living under the Chinese curse, which is, as you know, may you live in interesting times. We certainly live in interesting times. Israel is in the center of almost every conflict. It has demands for its extinction from Iran and others, and it needs its friends. Its friends ought to be every lover of freedom in the world, but every lover of freedom in the world is a bigamist. They have plenty of other loves. And so our objective is to make friends for Israel and show the world that Israel not only is caring for itself, developing its society, perfecting its economy, providing for the Arabs, whether the Arabs like it or not, by providing jobs and opportunity. But Israel is America's good right arm in the fight against terror. Without Israel, where would America be in fighting terror in the Middle East? So our job should be easy, but our job is not easy. Our job is to make friends for Israel, to show people that Israel has earned and deserves the support of the United States and every freedom-loving American and anybody else who has a commitment to democracy.
Amen v'amen. You say it so beautifully. A real treat for me to be standing with a dear, dear human being, a dear friend, Elie Wiesel. And I know everybody wants at you, so I'm going to make this very quick for you. We are here to celebrate the America-Israel Friendship League. As you look at things now, Elie, to what extent are you troubled by the relationship between America and Israel? To what extent are things sort of heartening to you and making you feel optimistic?
Well, I'm optimistic because both America and Israel are democracies. Both of them love Jews, and therefore I don't know any other country in the world which is so close to Israel in this respect as America is.
You have always been optimistic, and it's interesting, you know, everybody knows your history, and your optimism is one of the things that gives us strength. There's a lot of talk right now about all the things that come out of the Pew study, and are we living in an American Jewish life that is fragile and is somehow crumbling, or is it, again, going to endure well into the future? It's my only other question for you at the moment. As you look at American Jewish life, how do you assess it?
Well, I believe that American Jewish life has a future. It doesn't have really a past because America is a young nation and we are therefore a young community. But it has a future. Young people here, young Jews are good. And they filled many places, many schools. You feel them. There is a presence, there's a Jewish presence in America. May it continue for many years.
And may you too, and it's always good to see you. Elie Wiesel.
With you.
Thank you. Again, I'm standing with a man who needs no introduction, who has made an extraordinary contribution to Jewish life, now runs the Jewish Agency, Natan Sharansky. So Natan, you're here celebrating the America-Israel Friendship League. As you look now at the relationship between America and Israel, what pleases you? Are there any things that trouble you?
Well, what pleases me is that we have such a strong bond, that such a unique alliance, that there are two countries which are keeping this torch of freedom and identity together, and that there are not many other countries who are doing it. What upsets me, that not everybody understands uniqueness of this partnership, and that sometimes there is feeling that we are alone. So I do hope that people will understand that there is nothing more important for the future of the freedom of the world than bond between America and Israel.
One more question, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
You have been an eloquent voice pushing the notion of Jewish identity, not only in Israel but throughout the diaspora. You want greater Jewish education. You want Jews to feel more passionate about their being Jewish and about the state of Israel. And now we have the Pew report that comes out. I don't know how much you've had a chance to look at the details, but I'm asking you the same kind of question. As you look at world Jewry today, both in Israel and in America, and again, this is worth an hour discussion, I know, but I still, al regel achat, what is your sense now of where Jewry is?
In fact, this report only shows how important our efforts to make stronger connection between Jews and Israel. Because what's really happening, not only in America, all over the world, with the Jews, or you are part of ultra-Orthodox community, or you are connected to Israel, or both. If you are not connected to Israel and not part of ultra-Orthodox community, you will not survive as Jew. You will be assimilated. Thank you.
Continued all good success to you.
Thank
Kol
you.
tuv v'hatzlacha. Natan Sharansky. Thank you. So this is someone who needs no introduction. You know him so well. Abe Foxman, National Director of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and you're celebrating your 100th anniversary.
Yeah, I don't look at it.
No, you and I go way, way back. I was with you before you were Abe Foxman. You were replacing Nate Perlmutter.
Right?
It
I'm
was
still learning olive base from you.
And you have done extraordinary work. And there's no one on the American Jewish scene or world Jewish scene that does more than Abe Foxman. We're here celebrating the America-Israel Friendship League. As you look right now at the America-Israel relationship, what gives you a positive sense, and are there any concerns?
Positive is where it is today. It's as good as it's been in a long time. What gives me concern always for the future is it's the only relationship that Israel really has, which is serious. And that's always uncomfortable. If you have one friend, when you disagree, when your interests diverge, that's very scary. But at this moment in time, it's pretty good.
Okay. You have just written your own book where you talk about anti-Semitism on the internet. Give me, it's not fair, al regel achad, in 1 second for you to summarize the whole thing, but tell me this, as you look from your position at the ADL, at the level of anti-Semitism, A, in this country, and B, in Europe, what's your assessment?
I would say globally, it's the worst it's ever been since World War II.
And why? How
not in the US.
No, not in the U.S., but in Europe?
Europe, Latin America, Middle East, globally.
Okay, how did that happen? At one point we thought the lessons of the Holocaust would eradicate the kind of anti-Semitism
It
we're
didn't
seeing.
eradicate it.
What
They
happened?
subsumed. They went underground. It wasn't an issue. And as the years went on, and the trauma of the Holocaust, the guilt of the Holocaust, the knowledge of the Holocaust, Holocaust denial, Holocaust trivialization, it took away these layers that almost protected us from the ugliness that was never eliminated, never catharsized. It was always there, but it was below. Now, you're 60, 70 years. Now you've got the internet. They've got a new superhighway. They have a new platform. They have a new legitimacy. And today it's okay.
There are some people who say, by the way, that the BDS movement, the attempt to delegitimize the state of Israel, is veiled anti-Semitism. In your experience, is there truth to that?
Yeah, I would call it anti-Semitism because anybody from BDS who would raise a standard that they want to raise in terms of human relations and civil rights, etc., if they put that same mirror to Saudi Arabia, to China, to Rwanda, to Iran, and include Israel, I would say you're wrong, but machatesa, I can live with it. But if the only mirror, the only standard, the only measure in terms of human rights and civil rights and proper humanitarian behavior is the Jewish state, it's anti-Semitism.
Right. Okay. You've said that it's always been there. Are you saying, tragically, that anti-Semitism is sort of an endemic plague and that the Jewish community always has to understand that it's going to be a present reality of human existence? Yes.
I'm sad to say the answer is yes. I think it will ebb and flow. It will go up and down. But you see, anti-Semitism is a vehicle that's used by all kinds of people for their own purposes. So Sunni may hate Shia and Shia may hate Sunni, but the way they prove to each other how good they are is hating Jews. So, for some we've been communists, for some we've been capitalists, for some we've been too smart, too stupid, too religious, too not religious, it doesn't matter. There is always a reason and a purpose, and as long as people unfortunately have to hate or have a need to hate, we're the number one on the hit parade.
All right. So what do you say to the audience watching you on Shalom TV now? What do we do? What would you hope for all of us? How do we deal with the reality that you have aptly described?
In the interim, it's still education, education, education. It's the only antidote. I'm a dreamer. Martin Luther King had a dream. I have a dream. And the dream is now that we are mapping the human mind, body, now that we're in DNA, I want to be able to believe that we will find what made my nanny, what DNA caused her to say, I will risk my life to save another individual. What DNA was there to people who collaborated? What was it for the bystanders? So I hope that maybe in my lifetime, if not maybe in my grandchildren's lifetime, we will be able to identify what it is that makes people who they are, what they are, but not only the physical illnesses, but also the illnesses of the mind.
So everybody's talking about the Pew Report. I don't know how much you had a chance to really go through it. Are there things in the Pew Report which trouble you deeply? Are there things that surprisingly, are optimistic in your mind?
Okay. There are things in American Jewish life that trouble me, and there are things that I find encouraging. I don't think Pew revealed anything we didn't know. Pew has enough so everybody can spin it the way he wants. Right. The pessimist, the optimist, the educator, the lover of Israel, the non-lover, play it any way you want. But I will say this to you. Many years ago, 1965, before I came into organized Jewish life, I read all the sociological prognosis on the American Jewish community. After all, I'm making a decision. I'm going to go to work for the Jewish people. What future does it have? In 1965, every prognosticator said there'd be no American Jewish life in the year 2000 in America. You know what? They're gone. There's creative Jewish life. The fact that we talk about it and worry about it, you have Soviet Jewry who came here. You have Israeli Jewry who came here. We are struggling with who we are. As long as we struggle who we are and what we are, kol hakavod.
You like Shalom TV?
Absolutely.
I love you.
At all times. Even the olive base.
Thank you. Abe Foxman. Lucky me. I get to stand with two of my favorite people in the world, Dan Gillerman, and of course Malcolm Hoenlein, who, you just celebrated, the 50th anniversary of the Conference of Presidents, and people said lovely things about you. As far as I'm concerned, they didn't say enough, but, mazal tov on an incredible evening. We're here celebrating the relationship between the Israel and America, the America-Israel Friendship League. Ambassador Gillerman, as you look now at the America-Israel relationship, is there anything that troubles you? Is there anything that really gives you a great deal of comfort?
Well, first let me say you've got two people here. I was the Israeli ambassador to the UN. Malcolm is the ambassador both for Israel and for the Jewish people.
Amen v'amen.
So, we should put things in proportion. There were people who thought that there was no need for the America-Israel Friendship League because the relations between Israel and America are so good and based on so many shared values and morals and interests that why would you need it? Now, I say that today, if it didn't exist, you'd have to invent it because the relationship is not something you can take for granted, and we're not sure. I mean, this is not the same relationship which we've always had. And we need to guard it, we need to preserve it, and we need to make sure that Israel prevails, and we will do that.
Thank you. Malcolm?
Certainly the U.S.-Israel relationship has its ups and downs, but we know there are constants, and one is the support of the American Jewish community and the American people. The League plays an important role, especially in outreach to non-Jews, to enlist them in the cause. Israel is not a Jewish cause. It is the American people who have stood with it. We know that there are tens of millions of Christians who, in fact, are very adamantly supportive, and we count on them, we need them, we welcome them and their support. So the future of the U.S.-Israel relationship I think is on firm ground at a time when people always raise questions and try to put doubts in people's minds. The fact is we see the numbers are stronger than ever, the bonds are stronger than ever, and events bring the two countries common interests in clearer relief.
Are either of you concerned that America may take the foot off the pedal when it comes to sanctions because they are in some way wanting so much for there to be negotiations between Iran and the U.S.?
I'm concerned, not just about America, but about the international community. I think this Iranian charm and smile offensive is working. I think that especially Europe and many European countries are dying to do business with Iran again. And I think also the American administration would rather solve it diplomatically. Now, we are all for a diplomatic solution, but no halfways, no compromise. The only reason the Iranians are where they are today is because the sanctions did work and because they are hurting them. And if you take your foot off the pedal, they will be back where they were. So you shouldn't not only shouldn't you take the foot on the pedal, you should press harder because they worked. And if you do the right thing, maybe you can get a diplomatic solution.
Malcolm?
I share everything that the ambassador said. The concern is that we look for gestures. The Iranians misinterpret the gestures, not what we intend, it's how they perceive it. And if they see weakness on the part of the West, if they can see that they can get away with any level of enrichment, it's not a right. They can have nuclear power, they don't need enrichment. We got to stop the plutonium plant, we have to remove the stockpiles. When we see tangible results, then they can have tangible actions in terms of the sanctions. Till then, there should be no let up. In fact, if anything, we should pass the sanctions now before the Senate and the House, impose them on the Iranians, let them know that we mean business.
Ambassador Gillerman, it is always an honor to speak to you. Thank you for giving us time.
Thank you very much.
Malcolm, I love you dearly. Thank you.
Neutral.
Malcolm, hold on. I'm sitting with a dear friend, Jeff Weissenfeld, and there's so many...
Wer ist der Mensch? Ich kenne ihn. Komm mein Leben nicht gesehen. Wo scheppert sich zieht zu mir? Nie.
And now you know all you need to know about him. By the way, he is doing so many different things, positive and wonderful for the Jewish world and the Jewish community and for the state of Israel. And look, as we're here for the American-Israel Friendship League, how do you see at the moment the strength, or are there weaknesses, do you feel, in the America-Israel relationship?
Yeah, unfortunately, the strength is in the wrong places, and the weakness is in the right places for the weak side. Clearly, we need a government. Our government has to see at the highest levels more clearly the stark contrast between the other side and the side that advocates for Israel. It's not an equal moral plane, and we shouldn't be sucked in. We shouldn't be sucked in by Iran. The most important thing that George Bush said at the dinner that you attended the other night at the President's Conference was, "I tell you as my friends," he said, "do not believe what they tell you. The policy of Iran towards the state of Israel will not change until the government of Iran is changed." And as far as this organization, which promotes America-Israel friendship through great programs, through economic cooperation, through the whole gamut of activities, this is a great organization. This is really what it's all about. The name America-Israel Friendship League says it all.
Right. Have you seen anything about the Pew study?
Yes.
Can I ask you, is there something about it that, number one, bothered you? Is there something about it that sort of pleased you?
It was sobering.
Because?
I have a rather eclectic view, even though I attend an Orthodox synagogue, because I don't like things to be quote-unquote adulterated. I'm not here to insult anyone, God forbid. I don't want my sermons politicized, which is another reason. But what I'll say is this. All Jews need to realize Judaism is not a growth industry. We need to find ways to get people that want to be part of us through conversion or whatever. We're not proselytizing. If they want to break down the door, let them in and help them. Don't be snobs, because we are small in number and we cannot survive as a small number. We need to be a growth industry like the state of Israel is now a growth industry.
That's beautifully said. You know, one of the things that came out of the Pew study was questions asked about American Jewish attitudes towards Israel. And while on the one hand there is a significant portion of the American Jewish community that does not feel attached to Israel, if you take the number who are very attached and somewhat attached, it was a vast majority of the American Jewish people. I want to know, in your own personal experience, whether that's what you have found or not.
Anecdotally, speaking from my experience, I more often come across good Christians. Certainly the Jews in my circle are very pro-Israel, because I can't aggravate myself by associating with people that would have the gall to be against the Jewish state when they don't preach the same type of opposition to states that don't deserve to exist because of the way they oppress their government, their population. So anecdotally, I can tell you that's not been my experience. My experience is very disconcerting, and I've faced it personally, as you know, on many issues.
You know, you do extraordinary work in all seriousness.
So do you.
Okay, it's very
You're
sweet.
a special guy.
It's very sweet. Anyway, it's always wonderful to be with you.
Mutual.
We'll talk often. Jeff Weissenfeld. Okay, so I'm standing with one of the great leaders on the American Jewish scene today, Mort Klein, Zionist Organization of America. So here we are, celebrating the America-Israel Friendship League.
Right.
At the moment, what gives you concern about the America-Israel relationship? What gives you a sense of hope and optimism?
Concern. We have the most hostile president to Israel in Israel's history, Barack Obama, who waited a year and a half before there was a vote on sanctions on Iraq, who exempted 20 countries from the sanctions, who's fought against all of our attempts to get stronger sanctions. We've gotten them, he's fought against it, doesn't implement it. Now he's speaking to Rouhani, one of the vicious haters of Israel, as if he's a moderate. And I'll never forget, last year when we met with President Obama in the White House, he said to us Jews, he said, you Jews must speak to your friends and relatives in Israel and search their soul. Tell them to search their souls, and you must search your souls to see if you're serious about peace. I don't think you are, he said to us, unlike Mahmoud Abbas, who's very sincere about peace, and everyone knows it. The Israeli people are a strong, happy people. They love their lives in Israel. Israel has one of the strongest armies in the world. They have the capability to take care of Iran, however difficult that will be. And I'm also a great believer in more miracles for the Jewish people. Our history is filled with miracles, none of which we could have predicted. From the splitting of the sea to the establishment of Israel, all miracles, and I believe we'll have more miracles we can't foresee, where God will finally help us, and Israel will be in much better shape than it is today.
A wonderful gift on the American Jewish scene, Mort Klein. Thank you, my
Well,
friend.
thank you, Rabbi.
Many wonderful people here at the AIFL Dinner, including Yoram Hazoni. And you have created the Herzl Institute?
The Herzl Institute.
Tell us about it.
Theodor Herzl was looking to set up the independence of the Jewish people on two fronts: the independence of the Jewish people politically and the independence of the spirit. Independence of the spirit means that we have to have our own character, our own national unique character, and contribute something special to the world. And that's what we aim to do.
That's wonderful. Look, Yoram, as you look at world Jewry at the moment, and I'm not even sure that's fair to you, if you look at Israeli Jewry and American Jewry, what at the moment gives you a certain sense of optimism, or the things that you see that trouble you?
Well, optimism, consider this. For the last decade, Israeli Jews have had more children every year than the previous year. That's not happening any place else in the industrialized world. The Jews of the State of Israel are people that want to live. They want to live for something important. It's very inspiring to see it happening. Many good things happening in Israel today.
Okay, you understand, by the way, it's interesting you point that out. In the United States, except in the Orthodox community, we are not replicating ourselves. It's under 2. Do you worry for diaspora Jewry?
I worry very much. But I don't want to just pull my hair out about it. I want to do something. And the thing that we need to do is to find new ways of reconnecting. And reconnecting, I think, is, everybody talks about it. We got to have a renaissance. We have to find a way to have a renaissance. I think that the way to have a renaissance is actually under our noses. It's in the Tanakh, in the Bible. It's in the Hebrew language. It's something that we actually could do. But I think that there's something to be discussed there.
Where were you born?
I was born in Rehovot.
And to what kind of Jewish family? What kind of Jewish household?
A traditional Ben-Gurionist family. There were such things. And I was born to one of them.
Okay. As you look at the typical Israeli today, do you see a greater feeling for the Jewish tradition and being involved in Judaism?
Absolutely.
Okay. Where did that come from, Yoram?
I don't know, maybe they're rebelling against their parents. It's really not clear, but I can tell you for a fact, when I speak to young Israeli audiences now, if I hint in the slightest that they're not interested in Judaism, somebody put their hand up immediately and say, Dr. Hazoni, you must be thinking of our parents, because our generation is just looking for a way to come back.
Okay, and in America, it is, the quintessential Jewish pluralism that drives American Judaism.
Right.
There's been some criticism of the Israeli model that many Israelis have grown up feeling you're either Orthodox or you're not involved in the Jewish tradition at all. Has that model changed as you see it?
I think in the young generation it's breaking down. I think that's a very accurate description of what was for the last 50 years. But I think there's a tremendous desire for a greater pluralism. That doesn't necessarily mean American movements, but it is a greater pluralism, and we do have to find a way to work with that.
Herzl Institute?
The Herzl Institute.
Located where?
In the German colony of Jerusalem.
Okay, so if viewers to Shalom TV visit Israel, may they stop by and visit?
Absolutely. You and all are welcome.
Okay. Yoram Hazoni, who is doing some extraordinary work. By the way, this guy's been doing creative things on the Jewish scene for years and years and years. This is just your latest. Kol Tuv Hatzlacha.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This wonderful human being is Michael Steinhardt. And it's interesting, I don't want to do a play on your name, but, the heart you have. The heart you have for the Jewish people has been extraordinary, and we thank you for all you've done. The reality is that it may be that the future of the state of Israel is most dependent on there being a strong partnership between the United States and Israel, and between American Jewry and Israeli Jewry. Does that resonate for you at all?
Did you read the Pew Report or read about the Pew Report?
Almost line by line.
So it suggests that the organizations that permeate the American Jewish institutional world are failing. Let me say it again, failing. And therefore, we need a whole new set of thoughts about that world. And that applies to this organization and the ADL and the AJC and the federations. They are failing the next generation of non-Orthodox Jews.
And you've given this a lot of thought, by the way. We've talked.
I have. Yes.
Okay. And hopefully you and I will get a chance to sit and really talk seriously in the near future.
No.
But is there anything at the moment you wish the American Jewish community understood? You're talking here to thousands upon thousands of Jews and non-Jews who are watching. Is there something you wish they knew and then implemented in their lives?
I wish they, instead of using cliches, thought seriously about Jewish values and how Jewish values, and I don't mean Judeo-Christian values, I mean Jewish values, and how Jewish values are different and meaningful and how they might apply to their lives. Now that's a very ephemeral sort of statement, but that's the best I could do at the moment.
By the way, I love that, and we'll get a chance to talk about that in detail in the future.
Good.
But again, I thank you for all your years of service and all the things you've done for Shalom TV and me, and I appreciate it very, very much.
My pleasure.
Michael Steinhardt.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support Shalom TV with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the Shalom TV website homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to GEM. To GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive on DVD with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.